Hi, thank you for joining us today. My name is Judy Ledour. I will be your moderator today for this webinar. I am a coach, trainer, speaker, and consultant specializing in recruiting. And I was last year's recipient of the RISMedia Standing on the Shoulders of Giants Award, which was a huge honor to receive. So thank you again for that. Today's webinar is sponsored by Constellation One. So I'd like to first welcome Tom Damon. Tom, can you tell us a little about your career in Constellation One, please?
Sure. Thank you, Judy. Very excited, by the way, for this webinar. I'm the Enterprise Sales Director for Constellation One. I've been with the organization in some way, shape, or form for the past 2 decades. So really excited about this topic. As you know, at Constellation One, we're a real estate technology leader, and we specialize in assisting brokerages, franchises, and MLSs and their members in 3 specific areas, and that's front office, back office, and data services solutions. So interested to see how the panelists go with the discussion regarding the technology and its impact on recruiting new agents.
Totally agree. Thank you, Tom. Our first panelist that I'd like to introduce is Erin Cestero. She is with JB Goodwin Realtors in Texas. So thank you for being here today, Erin. Can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your company?
Absolutely. I am Texas. So I am the president of JB Goodwin Realtors. We are 900 agents across South Texas. So approximately 400 in San Antonio and surrounding areas, another 500 in Austin and surrounding areas, and been around since 1972.
Wow. Thank you so much. Our next panelist is Chad Ruggles. Thank you for being here today, Chad. Can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your company, please?
Yeah, I'm Chad Ruggles, Senior Vice President and Head of Villa Home. We're a nationwide brokerage with 1,300 agents across 40 states plus DC. We are part of the Carrington family of companies that consists of a capital management, mortgage servicing, mortgage lending, title and escrow company. We are the brokerage arm of that conglomerate of companies, and we've been in business since 2008.
Awesome. So we're going to hear a little bit more about how you handle the virtual agent today, right?
That's right.
Thank you, Chad. We do have another panelist who I think should be joining us. We'll wait to introduce him, and but let's just go ahead and jump in and get started with some questions. I know Erin, you and Chad both have a lot to share with everyone. As a reminder, today's topic is next-gen strategies for attracting and keeping those rock star real estate agents. And just really by definition, you know, in all the work that I do around the country, currently about 10% of the agents in the country are earning, like selling about $3 million in business or more. And so that means we've got 90% of the agents in the industry earning less than $100,000 a year. So when we talk rock star agents, it's basically 3 million and up. It's attracting that top 10%. So based on that, my first question is that the recruiting season has definitely started early this year. A lot of people are attributing the disruption and the uncertainty in our market to a lot of the agent movement that's taking place right now. So Chad, we'll start with you. What are you doing to keep your agents focused and productive, and how are you demonstrating your guidance and leadership to the agents in your market?
Well, I think for starters, there's a lot of noise around all the settlements, and I think agents get really uncomfortable when that happens if the brokerage that they work for is not out leading in front of it. We just actually did a seminar yesterday with our consulting firm T360 and brought all of our agents on board to just discuss exactly, you know, what's going on, because if agents were only to determine what's going on by reading what's in the news, it could get quite confusing. So I think rockstar agents are really looking to say, does the brokerage that I'm working for have a grip on this? Do they provide me with the proper amount of leadership and direction through these very uncertain times? And so we're trying to do the best we can with that, but at the same time is to reiterate our value proposition to them and remind them of why we think we're the best brokerage for them as we kind of navigate this new area.
Great, that's so important, Chad. Thank you for that. I do see that Dan has joined us now. Dan, thank you so much for being here today. Dan LC is with Real Estate One. Why don't you quickly tell us a little bit about just yourself and Real Estate One, and then I'm going to ask you to answer that same question, Dan. But tell us about yourself first.
Sure. We're based in Michigan. We've got 90 some offices, 2,500 realtors combined between franchised and company owned. So we're run the gambit of all the different pieces: title, mortgage, insurance, property management, all that stuff. So we've been around for 90 years, fourth generation company. So a lot of history and a lot of family.
And you've seen a lot of ups and downs over the last 90 years, I imagine, as a company, and survived them all, which is great. So Dan, let me just ask you, what are you guys doing to keep your agents focused and productive in this market, which is obviously filled with a lot of disruption, a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of news, which has some of the agents concerned?
I think what Chad was saying, it's communications, a little cliche, but communicate. We find that at the point our agents start to complain that we're giving them too much stuff, that's about the time they actually are absorbing it. So that's just human nature. So we do that. We have a market research department, sort of like stockbrokers that have that. So we use that team to generate a lot of information, a lot of market information. The current issues of where the world, our industry is going, and commissions and all that. We've done a lot of information about that as well. And I've been doing going to office meetings for the last month or so, and we do some Zooms on that as well. So we do all those things. A lot of it we're able to broadcast from a lot of our offices and from our main office, all of our seminars and our Zooms and things. So we do, again, over communicate.
Perfect. So it sounds as though both you and Chad are, again, a lot of open communication, talk about the market, talk about what's going on, talk about the strategies. Don't try to duck it or pretend that it's not happening out there. And I totally agree with that. Aaron, let me ask you this. 2023 was what we consider to be the year of the influencer. And brokers and recruiters have really stepped up their game with video and podcasts to become the influencer in their markets. What are some of the ways that you're maintaining your online presence, and approximately how many agents are following you or the members of your leadership team?
Sure. Well, we were all forced to video several years ago. So, I was taking cooking classes at that point, in the evenings online. So many people turned to video as a resource in general, regardless of what they were doing. So we have embraced that fully, not only in our training and education, but in our voice for who we are as a company. So we have company produced video that we're using for recruiting. Some of that message comes from our leadership in describing why we feel this is a special place to be. A lot of that comes from our agents sharing why they are members of our team. So we have those formally produced videos. We've produced videos of our clients leaving video testimonials. We have stories about our culture, about our efforts to give back to the community. So a lot of formal videos that we use through drip marketing, through social media, and encouraging our agents to send those directly both to their sphere and online. But we're also trying to lead the charge in organic video production from a leader standpoint, and just being present online. I can't ask my team to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. So I will say, somewhere in COVID times that I turned the camera around and took my first selfie, and I'm probably the only person in the world who can take a selfie and manage to have my own eyes closed. But if I'm asking my agents to do it, I've got to be willing to do it myself, right? So we have gone to online to show, hey, if we can do this, we're not just asking you to do something we aren't willing to do. And I think even the small things, taking a screenshot from my sales meeting on Tuesday to show people showing up and learning together. Not everybody has that experience wherever they are, so it can have a big impact and spreads the word a lot faster than any phone calls I can make.
Awesome. So I love that. Now, with regard to the videos, in addition to being online in a lot of locations, are you directly sending videos out as part of your marketing strategy to recruits as well?
We are, absolutely. Depending on how a recruit comes to us, whether it's through job boards, whether it's through school, we have different video messages that go to our team. Some of it's even a virtual tour of our office. There are video messages to tell the stories. For an experienced agent, I've got an 8-point drip campaign that starts with a video, culture, training, support, and each of those has a theme.
And are a lot of those also found on your website? So if an agent's checking out in advance behind the scenes, they can go to your website, see some agent testimonials, take a virtual tour, things of that nature?
They are. They can find those on the career page of our website, as well as trickled into other aspects of our website.
Awesome. Erin, you are doing it all. Thank you. Dan, I think you guys are doing a lot with regard to social media as well. Like I said, it's funny because I use the term influencer, and when I'm in front of an audience, if I say, how many of you think of yourself as influencers, 2 or 3 hands go up. And then by the time I say an influencer is simply an expert in their chosen field. So how many of you think you're an expert? So their hands all go up. And so the connection between influencer and expert is simply displaying that into the marketplace. So when you are the expert, getting out there and doing that. So Dan, can you tell us a little about how you're using video, influencing social media platforms to maintain the position of being the expert or influence in your market?
Well, I'll tell you, I was writing as fast as I can for what Erin was saying because I think she's ahead of us. We have driven it typically as local as we can. So we have our leaders in our branches do a lot of that. And the things as you'd mentioned, whenever we have sales meetings, typically once or twice a month, so make sure any activity in the office, they're creating a story online as to what's going on in that office. So create a story, create some momentum. So we do a lot of that. And our marketing team drives a lot of posts. Typically, it's more market information, but it's everything from, next Tuesday is National Dog Day. But whatever it is, that's just we have a library of a variety of social media posts that we can constantly update and provide and give our agents excuses to do it. And then in each office, we have someone, we call them agent service coordinators, ASCs, and they're responsible for making sure that information is not only posted on our office sites, but also make sure that it's driven to the agents so they have it and they can use it for their piece as well. So
Awesome.
and that seems to work. Providing the biggest thing that we hear from our salespeople is an insatiable appetite, and that is they need more content, they need more help with video. And I'd say honestly, we're probably only up to our ankles in what we can really do and offer from a video standpoint. Our challenge is finding video talent.
Right.
Just finding people who understand the process and can deliver, and not even just deliver. It's most of our most talented people in our branches from a technology standpoint spend a significant part of their day just editing reels that other agents have created. They take 20 minutes of information and they say, well, what I do is, how can I turn this into a minute reel? And so it's that effort is, I think, the degree, and again, we're only up to our ankles in it, but the degree we can solve that, I think that's a huge opportunity for value added.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. I was thinking as you were talking, and one of the number one things that I hear from brokers and agents is just the fear of doing that first video, right? Everyone wants to wait till they've lost 10 pounds, or they look better, or, whatever it's going to be. Do any of you have any input on that? Any secrets that you've had to encouraging that agent to step up and do their first video, whether it's doing it with them or anything that could help some of the brokers out there that have not got quite to the point where you guys are at?
I can speak to that a little bit, Judy. I just try to remind our agents that we're a YouTube nation. It doesn't have to be perfect. And as long as it's professional, seeing us fumble a little bit makes us relatable and actually can make somebody much more comfortable picking up the phone and calling us. When our clients are reaching out to us, they're calling us when their home's messy and they're packing up boxes and the kids are upset that they're moving. So there can be some vulnerability in there. And I think showing that we aren't always perfect on the camera can be super relatable and actually generate more business than the perfectly produced video.
Well, you brought up a good point. I think if you just tell anybody, go to YouTube and watch some YouTubes, because there's YouTubes, anything right now, you'll see that most people aren't that worried about having it perfect. And because YouTube is really about keeping it real. And so thank you for that.
Certainly. I can add one extra little snippet. We hold video workshops every Friday in our office. And it's 2 hours in one room. We have what we call a recording studio. It's really an office we've converted into a little space where people can feel like they don't have all eyes on them. And they can shoot video and have somebody there hands-on that can help them do the minor edits. And sometimes it takes just us pushing the send button to know that it happens before they leave the room and overthink it.
Nice, awesome, that's great. Let's move on to your best marketing strategy. So we'll jump back here to Chad. What's been your best marketing strategy to educate agents about who you are, how you can support their real estate career, and the most compelling reasons to join your firm? How are you building all that into your marketing strategy, and what are you doing?
Well, the one thing that's made our brokerage different is kind of its DNA. Being part of the Carrington family of companies provides us just with some really unique opportunities. We service close to 800,000 customers and their mortgages that provide so much different opportunity for our agents. And so, you know, there's times, and I think that maybe we don't do a good enough job of using that to promote the brokerage, because if you went and talked to me about this 2 years ago, I would have said, no, we want to promote this brokerage based on the fundamentals of the brokerage. You know, like Carrington's kind of like, you know, the big brother of it. I'm not going to go and try to attract people because I've got this extra, you know, superpower that we've got. It's like, I want people to join us for the brokerage's value proposition. But I think recently we've said, look, part of the value proposition that we really need to spend time talking about is the fact that the opportunities that are provided to agents from being part of Carrington, whether that be some of our clients who want to sell their home and buy another home. Sometimes there's REO opportunities, right? Not every customer can make all their payments. Sometimes they fall into default, and we have a bunch of those types of REO assets. Plus, we have a lot of institutional relationships that provide our agents with a good deal of opportunity, you know, whether it be leads or assets. So we've really, I think, recently have kind of leaned on that a little bit more than maybe we had in the past. And I think that is the one thing that maybe that makes us stand out a little bit, is that we're just not your typical brokerage. And again, at that, like I said, at some point in time, you know, a couple of years ago, that used to bother me, and I think we've just accepted it. You know, I'm not going to have the same type of brokerage as Aaron and Dan, and I got to be okay with that. We've got to be who we are.
Yeah, and you've really completely transformed the brokerage in the last few years. We were chatting just a little bit in advance on that. Could you share a little bit about that, how that mindset shifted from 4 years ago maybe to today, and how the brokerage looks today versus then, and how you've achieved that?
It probably starts back in 2008. You know, the brokerage was called Carrington Real Estate Services. It was built to just sell the REO that came from the servicing portfolio, right? 2008, there was plenty of REO. Anybody who had a servicing company had a lot of REO. So we said, let's build a real estate brokerage to just help us disposition these REOs so that we could get highest execution for the client. But by the time 2019 rolled around, that business had basically dried up. So that became, okay, you got to reinvent this place. So it started really in 2019 with a name change to Villa. Villa being home. Our logo is a rising sun, new day, new opportunities. And from there, it was stocked the shelf with a value proposition, because you don't have all this REO anymore. That's not what agents are coming to you for.
Right.
You're gonna have to come to you for something else. And so that's when we met, you know, Tom and the Constellation One team, and we changed out our tech and went with Constellation One. I think that was a great value add for our agents. New marketing resources and people. And then when in 2020 came around, we really had to adopt this hybrid model. And we had probably more brick and mortar than I think we wanted at the time. And we didn't we kind of felt we probably didn't need it all. But I think when COVID hit, we realized, you know, we really don't need all this brick and mortar. And our agents kind of told us what they wanted. They wanted us to be in front of them, but they wanted us to be in front of them on their terms. And for sometimes that meant coming into an office, but in most of the time it meant, I need access to you and your resources from my living room. It really pushed us back in 2020 to become more virtual, and that's where we are today. Though we have brick and mortar, we're not known for our brick and mortar. We're more known for our hybrid and our virtual footprint.
That's great. And you know, one of the messages I really love there is realizing that when the market shifted, that your model no longer worked. And so instead of trying to force that model forward, you took the time to reevaluate and really change it, right down to even changing the name of the company. So that's awesome. How about you, Aaron? How about your marketing strategy to educate agents about who you are in the marketplace, and you know, what's most compelling about your organization?
Sure. I mentioned earlier, we are very social. We're on social media a great deal. We have strategic plans for drip campaigns, reaching out, and we're very intentional about that in their schedule. You know, the same amount of time or on my calendar where I have time blocks. I've got time blocks for payroll and all that have to do things, but I've got a social media block that's social media for supporting my agents and social media for recruiting. So part of my story is sharing content that the company's sharing, but also sharing our agents' content, showing off what they're doing to society and showing society that our leadership is supporting them. Because a lot of what agents are looking for now is somebody that'll cheer them on when times are extra tough. So we're very intentional about that. I've got a Excel spreadsheet of agents I'm hoping to recruit in the community, and I'm making sure that once a week I'm touching their social media and I'm there rooting them on so that they know that's something that's important for us culturally at our office. And of course, my JB Goodwin family continuing to do the same, because I'm standing behind a podium telling them this is a necessity for reaching their sphere, whether it's picking up the phone and calling, posting on social. If I'm not there celebrating those small successes, big wins, I might not be benefiting from down the road.
Okay. Now they say about 70% of recruiting is the relationship that you establish. It's more about the relationship than the money. Would you agree with that? And has that social media presence for your agents and the recruits built that relationship, which would allow you to recruit the agents, in your opinion?
Absolutely. You know, stopping by and giving a hug in the hallway has a huge impact, but sometimes social media helps me speed up that process for knowing my agents even better. You know, I see their families, I can ask about the new puppy, I can see what they did for the holiday, and it spurs when I'm making those care calls, checking on them one-on-one. That social media can help me show the support online, but also helps with furthering that relationship down the road.
Great. And that's the number one question that brokers always ask me is, what do I talk about when you call them? So you're exactly right. Knowing what's happening in the world via social media is the perfect reason to call an agent, yours or theirs. Awesome. So Dan, I'm going to have you kind of chip in on kind of more specific to how you're leveraging technology to retain and recruit your agents. And of course, part of that technology is that social media platform and presence and your marketing. So can you speak to that, please?
Yes, we have a platform. Constellation is our platform,
Okay.
is our core platform. But we layer on top of that. We use Converse for our communication platform, which is very effective, and that's it's like the sort of our own Facebook groups. So each branch has their own. We have it regionally. We have a company wide. We have a common calendar. So the agents use that for their day-to-day conversations and communications. I've got a new listing coming, all those things. I need to sell my car. It's all kinds of things. So that's a good, from a technology standpoint, those pieces are very strong. And then we have we haven't used Mark as our marketing platform for our creative studio group, our marketing team. So those are the core pieces for our platform, but more importantly than all of those things is the reality that we all find, and that is that our realtors don't use any of those one pieces enough. Maybe Converse is a little bit different because they tend to use that daily, but the rest they don't use enough to be very proficient at it. So, so I mentioned earlier our agent service coordinators in the branches. We rearranged, it's going back probably 6-7 years, we arranged our staffing. And just because, first of all, the phones don't answer anymore anyway, so we were able to change our staff to be more marketing focused and less transactional focused. So they're the ones that do that work. So they'll execute the campaign for the agents for their SOI on whatever pieces need to be done. They'll do that work, and within our IT department, we have people that are human beings to help people. I know someone's figuring out what CRM they want to do. We have someone that understands 3 or 4 different CRMs. They can, on a consultative basis, they can help them through. So we're finding that the human aspect of technology is more important than the technology. Technology comes and goes. It's plug and playing. But you've got to have the people behind it that can help them execute, and in some cases do the work. So, and we found that to be the most effective. It's expensive. It's, our value proposition, you asked the prior question, is we have three things: success framework, talented people, and meaningful footprint. And the success framework is whatever that platform is, but it's the talented people that understand that. That's the difference maker for us.
That's awesome.
And that works.
So now I do know that it's kind of funny. Some of our rockstar agents or agents that are doing a ton of business are the worst when it comes to technology. So I love the fact, Dan, that you've got those people in-house on staff that can do that for them, or again, teach them one-on-one. So I imagine that's been an effective recruiting as well as retention tool. Is that correct?
Yeah, it has. That's our, we have our ratio is 1 employee for every 10 realtors. So, and we track our competition. We know that they tend to be 1 in 30 up to 1 in 500. So now some agents want a different model. I mean, there's a lot of model choices now in the marketplace, much more so. Technology has facilitated that. But in our world, we find that our top agents want help. The more productive they are, particularly if they're larger teams, they need help. And so we find that's a differentiator, and we tend to attract a little more productive people than is typical.
Perfect. Erin, how are you leveraging technology to attract and retain your top agents?
Sure, we're being somewhat careful and intentional about that. I feel like 2 years ago, everybody was chasing all of the newest technology. As we're realigning, we're really trying to focus on the essentials and not scare people by chasing the newest and shiniest tool that's out there. So I don't like to call it back to basics, because it's not basic. We're getting back to the essentials and prospecting, and so many of our agents were busy working in the business. They weren't working on the business. So we've been talking about geo-farming, some of those organic things that our agents can be doing, and then building a long-term referral-based business. So when we're talking about our tools, it's focusing on those essentials, which is that first pain point for a lot of our agents, and relearning what we did in 2018, 2019 to be successful, but then also balance. A lot of our agents are feeling like they're spinning their wheels right now. So when it comes to technology, what can the technology be doing in the background to give you a better balance and quality of life, so you can pick up the phone and really connect with your sphere more directly?
Great. I love that. So, and I totally agree with that, we have kind of come full circle, and all of the reports coming out of NAR basically and RISMedia do state that staying connected to your client database, using technology to increase those connections is one of the best things an agent can do right now. So I love just bringing them back to what it takes to increase that business and keep those connections strong. Anything that you wanted to add to that, Chad, with regard to leveraging technology for recruiting or retention?
I think both what Erin and Dan said. I mean, not all the best agents are good with technology. So making sure that you've provided resources to help them. Having it, I don't know, having it is one thing, using it, getting agents to use it, really the other thing. You could have the best technology in the world, whatever that looks like. If nobody uses it, it's not worth anything.
Exactly.
So, we're constantly looking at our engagement rates, how do agents, and getting feedback from them. What works about this? What are the gaps in this? What aren't you able to do with what we offer? And letting them have a voice to our technology, and letting the agents, when we recruit them, we say, look, we've got really good technology. We know that the technology that we have will help you grow your business if you use it. And we'll go so far as to meet one-on-one with every agent that joins us. If you say, hey, I've been here for 6 months and I really want to start using this, can I get one-on-one time and get my hand held through the process? The answer is always yes. We've got our own trainer that can train on technology, can train on any of the resources that we've got. But it really takes the agent to kind of raise their hand and say, I want this help. And then between the help and the technology, it can help them grow their business.
Awesome. I love that. Jumping over to Dan, probably my number one question that I get asked by brokers is, what are the top agents looking for today? As we enter into 2024, what are their greatest needs and how are you addressing those needs? So just based on your most current meetings with agents, Dan, what are you finding out? What are those agents looking for as we go into 2024, and what are you offering in the way of solutions?
Well, what they're looking for, in fact, we just had a top agent session yesterday morning, catching up on things. So it wasn't anything new, but it is a personal branding and how to create their story in the world, and how to I help them articulate that. Social media, huge. Even our youngest agents are intimidated by the process of doing it and getting it done. So the content and the process, and the contract to close piece, that was really hot, and lots of conversation 2 or 3 years ago when the market was very strong, and the volume of activity was stressful. It's a little less now, so that's one step below. It's more, the higher priorities are how do I create leads and create activity. But still, it's very high in that. Since most of our realtors are sphere-based people, how to best manage your sphere, help them with client events, help them with drop-offs and thank yous, and just how to be creative in those things. So they crave getting together and exchanging best practices, and that's, I know that we all do that, but every time we do one of those events, and we do them pretty regularly, we're reminded that we knew that whatever we're doing, we need to do twice as much.
Yeah.
That
Agents do love networking with other agents, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Awesome. Chad, how about you?
In terms of how we, in terms of how we, what we're doing for those is we are doing those. We're having events, we're adding staff, we're changing our people the skill set, people in the branches to be able to be better at that. And we include it in all of our marketing and our weekly webinars and all those things.
Great. So if I were to recap that, basically what your experience is, agents are looking for, how do you increase the number of people that they can work with, how to stay connected to them, the support behind the scenes, the support that they're looking for, the networking with other agents to know what other agents are doing and how to take care of some of those problems. Perfect. How about you, Chad? What are you hearing from the meetings that you're having with agents? What are they looking for, our top agents? How are you addressing those needs?
My most productive agents always want more. That's why they're the most productive. They're never satisfied with just what they have. So they're always coming to us and saying, what are the new opportunities that the brokerage is working on that make this place the place that I love? So they're always looking for more opportunity, but they're also looking for support. And sometimes that just comes with, who can help me do the things that I know I need help doing? Right. Again, going back to whether that's using our technology, our marketing department, they get a lot of personal requests from top agents that are helping them, again, build their brand, helping them market themselves. So they're really looking for, and relationship. I think in this world, look at the brokerages out there that have had this massive growth. Dan was talking about employee to agent ratios, and he used these numbers that are as high as like 1 to 500. Well, some of these brokerages are more than that even. And there's no human and personal relationship. And I will tell you, the number one thing that a top producer needs to know is that they're a top producer, that you love them, and that they're important to you, and that their business matters. And if we fail to do that, they're going to go someplace else. So I think that's really, if you ask me what they're really looking for, what are their needs are to be appreciated, supported, help them grow their business, and to provide opportunities if you can do so.
Awesome. I see you nodding there, Aaron. It sounds like you agree with a lot of what Dan and Chad have said. Anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, I think those were perfect points. I couldn't agree. We try to celebrate all successes of our agents, because that recognition when we're feeling a little down in a changing market is more important than ever right now. Right. And I'll just say that goes for our top producers, and not just production successes. We celebrate who got the most reviews this week, who used their CRM more than anybody else. Any of those successes, any reason we can find just to celebrate our agents, we are, and we do it really publicly. You know, at COVID times, we went like high school parent version. We were putting signs in our agents' yards, in their front yard, saying, hey, I've done more charitable events for the community than any other JB Goodwin agent this quarter. So celebrating those successes and agents seeing us recognize the hard work they're putting in, I think is extremely important. And then I guess I'll add also, we're really focusing on trying to remove some of those hurdles as agents are trying to connect more, but they're getting distracted. Chad mentioned earlier the media and where other people are getting, or people are getting some bad information or some misinformation. We're removing hurdles by providing weekly scripts. This is your excuse to pick up the phone and call your sphere. This is the note to use in a handwritten card. Here's the tool you can use for a pop by. So it makes it easier for them to grab up and charge.
Wow, I love that. So a script every week. So here's what you say this week, your notes, your scripting. There's really no excuse not to do it.
Exactly.
Good. So here's one that I'm going to ask all of you. A lot of brokers are saying right now that their agents are being very, very heavily recruited this year, more so than normal. I think there's several factors going into that, but what are you seeing in your marketplace, and what are you doing to retain your own rockstar agents? Because obviously, if everyone's being really heavily recruited, that means you have to set up a plan for retention. Aaron, I'll just start with you, and then we'll go to Dan and Chad.
I think so much of what we've touched on the last few topics have spoken to culture and creating camaraderie, agents feeling appreciated. I'm a big systems girl, so I talked about time blocking my social media earlier, and I'll say time blocking agent retention efforts is important for our leadership. So all of our leaders have blocks for their weekly care calls and recognizing anybody who we go through the whole roster every week on who might be slipping through the cracks and needs that additional support. JB Goodwin was named the top workplace in the USA last year. So we work a lot on that sense of camaraderie, feeling like that we're a family and that we've got their backs regardless of what's going on. But it only happens because it's on the calendar and it's made a part of each of our efforts every single week.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. How about you, Dan? Are your agents being heavily recruited? If so, what are you doing to make sure that you retain your best agents?
Same thing. It's culture. We have and you always wonder if you're doing the right thing. There's I guess two things. One is retention. Are you retaining enough people? And we use top workplaces as well. And we've been a top workplace award winner. Our accounting firm seems beating us for number one. We were number two for the last 5 years. But that's okay. We take credit for their success.
That's fantastic.
But same thing. That's both a proof of success. We look for, when we're trying to retain our people, we look for where are the points that are proof that we're doing the right thing and the grass isn't necessarily greener. Our productivity per agent is one of the best, and agent earnings, we use those proof points to do that. But we also, as a business model, we have a lot of different brands. So we have a lot of different choices. So our flexible structure gives agents choices. They often bounce between brands as opposed to leaving the organization. We have 5 different brands that we operate under. So and each has little different compensation structure geographically, high end versus mid market. So we use that structure and that, I guess, that discipline of being able to be flexible. And our comp plans are different geographically. So we offer that ability to give our managers and our regions the ability to adjust to that competitive market that they're in. And that makes a big difference, because our view is that if we're within, one transaction difference between us and a competitor in terms of an apples to apples comparison, we think our culture and our local strength and our local roots will beat that anytime.
Sounds great. So you're really kind of recapturing your own agents. If for whatever reason one model isn't working for them, you can move them into another model without losing them. In many cases.
Yeah, I saw somewhere once, not in our market, but one of the national competitors was bragging about they had a 92 or 93% retention rate for their people, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what ours is. I never looked at ours, and ours was fluctuates within the year anywhere from 96 to 98%. So I said, well, I guess that's pretty good too. There's proof we're doing other things.
That is really excellent, Dan. I'm glad you brought that up because 97%, if you average 97% retention, that's really probably one of the best in the country. As a coach, people often ask me, what's a good retention rate? And I would say you can lose 10% of your agents through nothing that you're doing wrong. They can die, get sick, move away, a lot of things, right? Because you can't control those things. So if it's 10% or under, you're doing great. And when it's, 80 to 90%, then there's probably one thing you could fix. And if it's less than 80, there's probably a few things that you could do better. So for you to be at 97%, which is, holy cow, almost 100%, is just amazing. So obviously you're doing a lot of great things there. How about you, Chad? What are you seeing over in your market? And how are you retaining your agents when they're being heavily recruited?
I mean, it's definitely happening. What we do is we do kind of a continuous competitive assessment. What does the competition offer? And we do a pretty good job of knowing who's calling on my agents and what are they offering. I mean, I want to know, without even being on the phone, I want to know what they're saying. And so we can kind of learn that by knowing the competitor's value proposition.
Nice.
And then that means that we always have to go to the lab and say, does our value proposition match up? Because if it doesn't, now you're really depending upon culture and relationship. And we're going to lead with that always. But you can't just say, everyone's going to stay with me because they like my team, they like us, we've got great support. Eventually, that value proposition better be on par with your competitors. So we spend a lot of time making sure that is where it needs to be. But the other thing that we started doing recently is when we do lose agents, we find out where are they going, because you can learn a lot about what you don't have when you see where your agents went.
I agree.
And I'm really proud to say that our agents are not going to a lot of the big brand names. They're going to companies like Aaron's company and Dan's company. Not that they're small companies, but they're not going to, EXP, and they're not going to Remax, and they're not going to anywhere, right? They're finding things that kind of maybe look like us, but there's maybe something a little bit different. I'm also really proud to say that from a top producer standpoint, we're not really losing our top producers. I think sometimes, what I would say to agents is you kind of get in, you kind of get out what you put into it. If sometimes we'll lose an agent because, they didn't really come and take advantage of the things that we've got. So no matter how great that menu of items is for them to help them grow their business, if you don't come and you don't try to take advantage of it, then it'll be really hard for us, to retain them. But it's a constant effort of building relationships with top folks, and knowing what everybody else is out there pitching and promising.
Right. Yeah. And I love that. And I think it's really important for brokers to know what the competition has. Like you said, sometimes you can learn why someone's leaving to go there. But I do love the fact that you are doing that competition analysis for your team and letting them know this is what's out there. Here's how we compare to it, which builds their own confidence, obviously, but it also takes away the curiosity. They don't have to meet with the competitor if they're being educated in-house about that. So that's awesome. And great. So let's jump to the next question. This is being talked a lot about in the marketplace too. Right now, a lot of articles and studies say that 2024 is kind of that year of the pro, the professional agent, that agent that's doing the things that they need to do, those ones that are skilled, they know how to navigate through the challenges, those agents are going to really prosper this year. But unfortunately, 90% of agents are probably going to struggle this year. So how are you supporting your agent's ability to dominate the market, be in that top 10%, be that top pro, and are you promoting that to other top agents in the marketplace? We'll go with Chad first.
Well, I think it's exactly right. I mean, I know when I used to hear this 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the real estate transactions were by 20% of the agents, and that doesn't feel like the right number anymore. It feels like more like 90-10. I see agents getting left behind in this. That 90% has a lot of different I think is going on, and in fact that agents that are going to really have to apply themselves, they're really going to have to apply themselves, but they don't become a statistic here in this new market. And I don't think this has anything to do with the NAR settlements or any of that. I think this has to do with the fact that we're going to sell potentially under 4 million homes for the year. This is not as easy as go out, get a license and put on Facebook that you're a licensed realtor and you're going to get listings and buyers showing up. That's not it. We're in the environment of the professional now.
Right.
I like that. I mean, I'm excited about it. And anybody inside my organization that wants to be one of them can be one of them.
Great.
Any agent that's out there right now that's struggling, that wants to join an organization, whether it be Aaron's or Dan's or mine, there are brokerages out there. You don't have to be part of the 90%. That's actually a choice, is what we found. You're choosing to be the 90% that doesn't do any business. Because if you choose, and I just in meeting, Aaron and Dan just a little bit, there are all kinds of brokerages like these three that we are talking to today that will wrap their arms around you and that will help you and will pour everything into somebody who wants it to become the 10%. But I don't know if that completely answers your question, but they are dominating. I think they're going to continue to dominate. I think the bigger question is to the agent is, do you want to be a part of that? Because there's no like club, there's no like special key or a special code that you've got to have to be a part of that 10%. It's a decision that you make, and it's the brokerage that you're aligned with that can help you obtain your goals.
You're exactly right, Chad. I love the fact that you said like it's a choice. I think that's a powerful marketing campaign to agents right now as we go into 2024 is if you're not where you want to be, okay, you have options. So it's a choice. You're either choosing to stay put or you can choose to take a look at your options. So that'd be a great campaign, Chad. Good slogan. How about Dan? What are you seeing? And honestly, in a lot of markets, it's 93-7. It's not even 90-10. I think industry-wide, it's close to 90-10, but some of those statistics are even less. So how you getting that message out to agents?
It certainly is growing that way. We've never been we've been different in 90-10. We've been 60-40, but that's each company has a different structure. But the industry is certainly moving that way, and we're actually finding that this market change, and I think commissions and fees and all are. It isn't the lawsuit isn't the issue. It's fair market, open market. Fees are technology is creating more efficiencies create cost savings to realtors, to consumers. It's all just a natural flow of commerce. Mm-hmm. But also keep in mind that our real estate world is a zero-sum game. If it's 4 million transactions, that's all it is, and that's the size of the pie. So and what's the cliche? Realtors won't be replaced by technology; they'll be replaced by technology-enabled realtors.
Right.
So that's the challenge, and we're actually finding that a lot of our better producing agents have sort of taken the last year off because it was just so hectic in 2021, 22 that they just said, I'm just going to relax. I can afford to do it. I've done well in my life. And we hug them and say, that's wonderful. But I've also noticed a few of them, particularly those that haven't really embraced the efficiencies using technology mainly, but the efficiencies of the new world, they're having a tough time getting back on the horse. And it is those that are technology enabled that really are living in, as Aaron has described, the world of how you communicate, which is different. It isn't just purely social media, but it is an electronic communication. And they don't embrace that world. They don't take advantage of the efficiencies. So their income is going to go down. The number of transactions is going to go down. And it will be more like a boiling frog thing. It's not going to be a turn off the switch, but it's going to be, they're going to wake up in 3 or 4 years and realize that their business is off 20, 30%. They're still in business, but they're struggling. And we're seeing that middle tier, that middle second, bottom of the second, top of the third quartile that's struggling the most. Because the bottom quartile, the people that did two deals last year, they do 1 deal this year, they're still going to be in the real estate business. I mean, they were barely in before, they're barely in now. A 30% drop in the industry doesn't change their world. But someone that did 10 deals that goes to 5, they're going to leave the business. So
Right.
from a broker, it's important to figure out how you can keep that middle motivated, focused, because that's real revenue lost. That's just not a 10% drop in company dollar, it's a 100% drop in company dollar. So focusing on that piece is a huge piece of what we do, keeping them motivated and excited.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's funny. Of course, we could talk about how to motivate and that bottom tier, how to bring better agents in the bottom tier. That would take us like at least an hour, so we don't have time to do that. But our industry is broken into 3 categories. It's that if we look at the triangle, right? If it's a triangle, that top 1/3, which is our smallest at 10%, that this is going to be their year, right? Their position, they know what to do, they'll handle it. But I'm hearing that the middle segment, which is estimated to be 40% of all agents, you got 50% part-time, new, whatever, with a license, not doing anything. But you've got a 40% middle that in 2024, it's predicted that they're gonna pull themselves up if they're motivated to do so, or they're gonna fall into the bottom tier. So we're gonna lose a lot of our middle. So it's just kind of like that middle is gonna separate, and they'll gravitate up or they'll fall down. And it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of 2024. So Erin, what's your best dialogue or script when talking to those rockstar agents?
Well, I'm seeing one of the biggest challenges. There are a lot of agents that have been so busy they didn't consider a move, even if maybe they should have. Company changes, a brokerage that fits their life, their style, whether they want to be virtual, in person. So we're having a lot of conversations with agents that are ready to make a move, and one of the biggest concerns or hurdles for them is feeling like they're going to have a lull in business or this daunting 2-month period of rebranding. So
Right.
one of our most powerful scripts has been that we've created a white glove onboarding process for those experienced agents that in 48 hours, they can be rocking and rolling and ready to tell the JB Goodwin story. And that goes all the way down to, we've written the letter that they'll send to their clients about why they chose JB Goodwin and to support their business and their clients. So everything's ready for them from day one. They've got branded listing presentations, buyers consultations, all those things that could take weeks or months to get set up to feel like they're ready to rock and roll. It's created for them and ready. So it takes away that big hurdle, that daunting feeling. And then we've got a couple success stories we can share of some rock stars. We've had the opportunity of recruiting where their business didn't see a lull. It actually shot through the roof in that period just because of that new activity and the new tools they were using.
Right. Well, that makes sense, because a lot of agents are just, one of the things holding them back is they don't know what's going to happen when they make that move, or it's a lot of work and it's just easier to stay put unless things are really terrible. So that's a great story to use to get them on board. How about you, Chad? What's your best dialogue or script when you talk to those rockstar agents to get them to compel them to meet with you and or join? Oh, you are muted.
Sorry. Let me acknowledge how difficult that is to begin with. I won't tell you. I don't want, there's 100+ people on today. I don't want to give anybody the misguidance that we're really, really, really good at it, because I think it's difficult. Because really big time rock star agents, they usually got that. They got there with the help of somebody, and usually that somebody is usually where they are today. So if you're going to have that discussion, boy, you better have the thing that they don't have already.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to find what that is. And so I think that you said this in the beginning, Judy, that's a long-term process. It's build the relationship. It's being a resource. It's talking to somebody about not just your value proposition, but who you are, and seeing if that resonates, and understand that, look, most of the time you're going to strike out. That's okay. I tell all of my leaders, and I know this is so cliche, but you have a 0 chance at recruiting and bringing on a top producer unless you pick up the phone and ask. Right now, today, there's a top producer that is upset with their current brokerage. And that current brokerage might be one of those really big box names, right? And those agents are looking for the thing that we have that they don't have today. They're a top agent, but we have something that maybe somebody else doesn't have. So it's a matter of picking up the phone. I tell people all the time, I believe that you could boil down our value proposition into a phrase: get more for less. We have
Nice.
more opportunity. We have, more support. We have more training, more technology, and you don't have to be nickeled and dimed for it. I was speaking to a general counsel of one of the larger brokerages in this country, who is 100% brokerage, 100% commission, which is always fascinating to me. I'm like, being kind of the CEO of this company, I'm like, how does that work? His money's got to come from someplace, right? And I said, what are your margins? And his margins were 20%. I thought, okay, wait, can we dig into that? And it's what people are doing today is trying to make a bunch of money in fees on the agents that don't do any business. That 90%, right? Look, everybody does just fine with the agents that are doing business. They're happy because they're selling homes and they're making money. The brokerages are happy because you're offering great support and you've got a fair commission split with them. But what do you do with that other 90% that doesn't sell any of the homes?
Right.
Well, you fee them to death. Great, let's charge a bunch of fees, and that's how you make up really big margins. So, offer more for less. And the fact is, like, do we have to charge? We've always looked at this because we don't charge a lot of fees. Like, do we have to charge fees? Because that seems to be what everyone's doing. My answer is no. I don't think so. We won't be that brokerage. We're going to try to boil everything down, get more for less. And if we can't deliver on that promise, then we've got our work cut out for us.
I agree. Excellent. Last question. A lot of brokers are really challenged by, not everyone has a brick and mortars office, so we should start with that. Like you've really downsized, you mentioned, Chad, from that. But a lot of our brokers with the brick and mortar offices that want to get the agents back in. They were kind of post-COVID or pre-COVID, the agents came on a regular basis. Now kind of post-COVID, they're just not coming back in. So for any of you to answer this, are your agents coming into the office? And if so, what are you doing to get them in? How are you showing value to get them in for the brokers that are feeling challenged with that right now? Okay, Erin, you want to start?
Sure, I'll jump in on that. I do love that we've had so many folks who weren't engaged pre-COVID coming into the office as much. They're able to participate in more because we've really maintained a hybrid system. So we are trying to support both ends of that spectrum, but I will say I'm on the end of the spectrum that I'm really trying to encourage them to be in the office for major events, not every day, because then we know that turns into water cooler talk and can distract us from our prospecting, et cetera. But we have twice a month, we have in-person sales meetings, and some of our more dynamic trainings, we also turn those into workshops so agents can accomplish something solid before they leave the room by working through, whether it's a piece of technology, a new marketing strategy, whatever it may be. So we tie a lot of those big incentives, things that we know our agents will see solid results to, we tie those to being in the office being really a powerful tool to accomplish those things. So in my San Antonio division, we have 400 agents and about 150 show up for sales meetings twice a month, which I'm really proud of.
That's really good.
That's been powerful for us. Some of our lead generation tools and company generated leads, they can't take advantage of those unless they're there for some of those specific in-person events as well. So they are incentivized to be present.
I love that. So basically what you're saying is that if the value's there, they'll come in.
Exactly.
How about you,
breakfast tacos too. Breakfast tacos help.
Yeah. Chad, anything you'd like to mention with that? Because you have a lot of your offices are brick and mortars offices.
Yeah, I love what Erin's got going. I mean, and I would kind of, as I said pre-conference, I kind of would prefer to do what she's doing. We don't have as much brick and mortar. We've supported in certain markets. If the agents value that, we will open brick and mortar in certain markets. We're across 40 states and a lot of markets, but that hasn't been what they're telling us. But I think she's spot on though. If I'm an agent, I would want to go into an office. I would want to be shoulder to shoulder, face to face with my sales leader. I know that sales leaders would much rather be face to face with their agents. Every really good sales leader that I know is better in person than they are like this. And that includes me. I can sit here and try to motivate and inspire and encourage and do all these things on a day-to-day basis in front of a screen. I know I'm better in person. You have to trust me. I know you haven't met in person, but trust me. He's better in person than he is on screen. And I think that's just the way it is for anybody who leads a company.
Yeah.
And so but with that being said, the agents have chosen, at least here at Villa, and I think in a lot across the country, that they're wanting a hybrid approach. So
Right.
we've got to get good at being able to deliver a high level of energy and enthusiasm, coaching, training, support, and do it like this.
Great. So we have basically completely virtual, hybrid, in office. How about you, Dan? Anything you'd like to add to that that has been very effective in getting agents to come into the office for the brokers that are trying to
We're
figure it out?
about, yeah, we're about 50-50 in office and virtual. Our top people tend to be in office. The top people is skewed probably more 70% in office and 30% virtual. But and we do the same things you all talked about. We would do. I'm at an office now because we had a chili cook-off contest and had
Nice.
great turnout. So the food thing helps, but food, sales meetings, reasons to be in the office. I know our managers skew their recruiting appointments to those days when they know they're having office events, so that when the recruit's there, they see there's activity in the office, and we do that. But I know one thing I'm sort of coming to realization the last couple of years is that I think our job description for our manager is changing. And what we used to look for in terms of the abilities and the personality and style of a manager 5 years ago is different now. We do need someone who is more of a cheerleader, someone who is more socially conscious and socially aware, because the conversations don't happen naturally anymore. They're created and they're intentional, and it takes a different person, I think, to do that. So we're really looking at, as we hire new managers and change, that personality is a little bit different. It needs
Right.
to be, cheerleaders is a simplistic description, but it needs to be in that category of how they can bring people together and get excited.
So you reminded me of, gosh, for many, many years, I've always said that there's 3 words. If you just remember those 3 words, anyone can have a productive company. Okay. What are those 3 words? What do agents want? Food, fun, and recognition. So it really, it really boils down to a lot of what we said today is the fun, the food, the recognition. So thank you all for being here today. Wow. Easy to see why you're each very, very successful in your marketplaces. I want to thank each of you for sharing your best practices with the audience today. And I'd love to just turn it back over to Tom at this point. But Tom, thank you so much for hosting today's event. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. First of all, thank you, Judy, Aaron, Chad, Dan. It was great. Chad, I have met you personally, so you are correct in your. So, but one of the things that struck me, before getting into the, we have a special offer. It's centered around social media marketing, is the crossover, right? In regards to building relationships, generating how you generate opportunities, giving the voice to people, a voice to your clients, or in this case, like in your case, it's to your agents. In our case, it's to our clients. We want to make sure that they're a part of our roadmap, they're a part of our discussions, that we provide recognition, that they're just not another number, so to speak, and that there's that white glove service, as you mentioned, Aaron, in regards to how we treat people, and that's really a lot of what we focus in on our side. So I found it very apropos in regards to how things work between all our different industries as we cross over. So on the social media side, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our offer. And for our RISMedia webinar attendees, we wanted to provide a special opportunity. And one of the things you hear all the time is the reluctance to do the social media. So we heard about the agent reluctance earlier on different things. So software can help with that. But also having a support group and trainers and things like that that can help support agents in launching the program is all a part of it. Looking at content and messaging, from your video messaging that you have going out, references, all these stories of the agents and the brokerage, being able to have that brand and push it top down, as well as having that agent be able to personalize and brand themselves and manage all of their networks all from one spot with one button, or taking a Saturday morning and taking 15 minutes and saying, all right, I want to be able to manage my my postings for this week, and I've got this content from the brokerage, I have this content for myself, I have this content from a friend, and these are some of the things I've got going on this week, and being able to schedule all that out. And that's exactly what our social media platform does. It's Reach Social is the social media platform, and the special that we have is a quick start program. Allows you to get a brokerage level account and up to 5 agent accounts at $10 per agent. There's a one-time setup training fee of $250. Get to try it, you know, for a period of time, 60-day period of time, and you really get to see how everything works. Everything from setting everything up for the software, but also providing the training, support, and setup for success, so that you can accelerate things and how it can complement any existing applications you have. So you'll see that down below with the QR code and a little special on the screen. But bottom line, thank you very much for everybody's time today and taking the opportunity to share your stories. It's very, very insightful.
Tom, can I jump in real quick before we leave? Because, you know, the 5 different social media platforms down at the bottom where the circles are there. This is something that all of you can use with your agents and as recruiters as well. We all have a social media platform that we are basically present on. That's just everyone in the world. It's like it's the logical platforms if you're logical, it's the emotional platforms if you're emotional. But as salespeople and as brokers and recruiters, we can't have the luxury of only being on the platform that we're on, because our recruits, for us and for your agents, their client database is on all the platforms. And I just can't stress enough, whether it's for recruits, you know, recruiters, brokers, or agents, you have to be on all the platforms. So I love, Tom, that you make it easy to be on every platform, because every platform is going to be where all of their client database is at. And just doing that one thing alone will not only increase their sales, but for each of you listing as brokers and recruiters, it'll increase the number of people that you connect with, because they're everywhere and you have to be everywhere, but most of us aren't. So thank you for this product, Tom. It's super important for agents as well as brokers and recruiters.
Yeah, Judy, one more thing on that. The nice thing is, instead of having to log into 5 separate areas, you're in one spot managing everything.
I know.
Being able
Exactly.
to see
All right. Because if it's not that simple, they don't do it. So
yeah, and you can click on the ones that are applicable to you. So like on these, I want to send it to these 2, I want to send it to these 3, I want to send it to these 5, whatever it may be, all from the spot.
Awesome. Great product. Thank you, Tom. And thank each of you. We appreciate you being on the call today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.